धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे
किं कर्म किमकर्मेति कवयोऽप्यत्र मोहिताः तत्ते कर्म प्रवक्ष्यामि यद् ज्ञात्वा मोक्ष्यसे शुभात्।
कर्म क्या है और अकर्म क्या है, इस प्रकार इसका निर्णय करने में बुद्धिमान पुरुष भी मोहित हो जाते हैं। इसलिए वह कर्म तत्व मैं तुझे भली भांति समझाकर कहूंगा, जिसे जानकर तू अशुभ से अर्थात कर्म बंधन से मुक्त हो जाएगा।
ओम सहनं भवतु सहनं भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनाधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति ओम शांति ओम शांतिः। Let us sit down and study together. Through discussion, let us sharpen each other's intellect. Let us not bear any ill will to each other. Let peace, peace, peace prevail.
Great.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti. I think we talked about, we are in 4th chapter, we talked about something about cosmic intelligence. We talked about whether there is a cosmic regulation. When that verse came, yada yada hi dharmasya. So who is regulating? And sometimes there is this discussion between us, and many people will say, oh, if someone is going to do the work, why am I doing any work? Or am I part of the intelligence? So the cosmic intelligence works in that way that everybody is part of it. It's all inclusive, whether it is you, whether it is me, whether it is anyone else, the good, bad, and the ugly. All kind of intelligence is part of that cosmic intelligence. That's the point I just kind of sometimes wonder, it's like, what is the value of my intelligence if, the big intelligence is doing everything? What is my role?
Yeah, I think we did talk about all these things when we discussed about the cycle, the chakra, and we talked about the yajna, the sacrifice. So we did touch upon two things. One is the cosmological component, and the other one is the human component. We are also part of it. Okay, so as the natural law takes over the cosmic events, we are also part of it, and we should take part in it. It's not passivity. Okay, and that's what we have to distinguish very carefully, because we are included in this whole cycle of great events in this universe. And basically it has been compared like a big sacrificial occasion. It's an oblation, or it's an offering to this entire universe's well-being.
That's exactly the point I wanted to make, Amitabh, because there is a YouTube video that you have shared, or we have, everybody probably has seen, that it starts with, say, small component of Earth, and then it goes in the whole universe, and it's such a small part. We are such a small part of the whole universe, but we are not insignificant. Even though we are a small dot in the big scene of the universe, we are an important dot, and that is an important point. So much so that some of our rishis have said, Aham Brahmasmi. So I think this point should be made that, yes, when we think of big picture, we sometimes feel like we are totally unimportant. I think we are an important part of that big picture.
Yeah, that's true. It's like a big, the only analogy I can draw is, it's like a very complex chemical reaction or a cycle. If one atom or one molecule is missing, that reaction doesn't take place.
Right.
So,
and I'm not saying it as an ego just to satisfy my ego.
No.
It's like a raindrop. A raindrop is a drop, but when it drops down, flows together like a stream and becomes a river, and the river enters the ocean, you cannot say that that raindrop was not important. The ocean is so vast and drop is so small. The
So,
importance is there.
yes, we are part of this holistic phenomenon.
Yeah.
We are a component. And because we are a component, we have to take active part in it.
Yeah.
And that's
So, having made that point, I think we are embarking on this verse, which I think is the central theme of chapter 4. At least the one discussion that we are going to have today. And the name Karma Sannyas Gyan, Gyan Karma Sannyas Yoga comes from it. And that is the verse number 23.
yes.
That's what it is.
Yes.
So that is the central theme. So Gata Sangasya Muktasya. So it's saying basically non-attachment. Sangas is attachment. So free from attachment. So that's the number one part.
Yes.
And when you are free from attachment, you are kind of sannyas anyway. But the next one is Jnana Vasthit Yattasa. Jnana Vasthit. So he's talking one side non-attachment, the other is Gyan. And Gyan is, the English translation is knowledge, but it's more like knowing rather than knowledge. It's like reading about riding a bicycle or reading about doing surgery versus doing a surgery. So doing a surgeon, that surgeon has the real knowing or knowledge. That Gyan Krishna is talking about, in my view. So those two, and then the big one, yagya ya charata karma. So it took me a long time to understand that doing karma as a yagya, that's the central theme here. So we have learned about doing karma as a nishkam karma, which is non-attached action. We also have learned about karma phal tyag, when you get the result, and that one you kind of tyag, you break your relationship there. But this is doing karma as a yagya. I am getting the hang of understanding this after we came to chapter 3, where we talked about yagya. And now in Gita, yagya is, Krishna puts a lot of emphasis on this. And then, of course, if you do this, then you are, basically this is, what we are going to discuss today. The main thing, samagram, it's like then you are a complete person. So, yeah, tell us what you think about it.
I think the verse number 23 is a great introduction in this chapter of transcendental knowledge.
Yeah.
That's the knowledge of Brahman. Okay, so prior to all these things, from second chapter onward, he talked about what's the nature of the soul, how the people who are equipoised, how they do, what are the material worship, material desire, and what is more sublime, how these cycles happen, where there is a cosmologic component and a human component, and why we should fulfill that responsibility. And now he talks about, with this knowledge all in the background, and assimilating it all together gives us that transcendental knowledge. Okay, so that liberates us, gata sangasya. Okay, and
so he gives that transcendental knowledge. That is the knowledge, but then there is the action part as well. So
he says that with that knowledge in the background, now the actions that is done, these actions do not attach you or us to any karma phalam, okay, or the fruition of the result. So basically, it leads us to do a non-attached action, okay, nishkam karma, as you said. And then in the next verse, he says how to view the entire karma kanda or whatever happening in this whole world as manifestation of Brahman in different forms. So that leads us to verse number 24.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. But here, yagya yacharatah karma, we always think of, giving up the fruit of action, right? Giving up the fruit of action. Here, and even, before that, we talked about, some of the uh, verses coming up, is that you are also giving up the karma. It's like you did a good deed and you keep saying, oh, I did this for this person. I helped this person become something. It's like I helped, the prime minister of XYZ country become prime minister because I donated 5 rupees or 5,000 rupees or 5 million rupees. So we always keep collection of all those things that we do. Um, and here comes Krishna and says, no, you have to give up that as well.
Yes, that in the quotation mark, that I is the
Yeah.
problem. That I gives us the false impression of doer rather than agent of the deed. Okay. And that I within quotation mark is the manifestation of our ego, which causes duality and confusion.
Yeah. But I was thinking about this verse. I mean, this verse is kind of growing on me myself. It's like today, all the things I have done, whether it is doing MBBS examination or I mean, I'm talking about say in medicine, or MS or FRCS or my training in this country, all of that is gone. The end. Once you do the action, that is the end. You cannot go back unless you have, some movies make time machine. But whatever has happened, even if you retake the exam, you're not retaking in the same space and time.
Yes, basically it is the movement forward.
Yeah.
Okay, all those things are preparation, and that preparation is also an offering towards your performance.
Right.
Okay, so those preparations are also yagya, and this action that you are doing in your profession, that serving people, that is also a part of the yagya or the sacrificial action to maintain this world order.
So it's a mental state, right? I mean,
Yes.
even if you hold on to it, it's gone.
Yes. Yes.
You may be holding on to a certificate, or hang it on a wall, I'm not saying don't hang it on the wall, but it's still, this whole doing karma like a yagya acharat
That's right.
karma.
That's right.
It's kind of, neki kar darya mein dal, right?
Yes.
Have you heard that saying?
No.
Oh, so this is a common saying. Neki kar means, you are doing some good deed, but then put that in darya, means in the river, let it flow away. Don't hold on to that neki, that, I have done this neki.
There's a parallel thought in Rumi's statement.
Yeah.
And this is very near and dear to me. I learned it in a younger age.
Mhm.
Wherever you are, be the soil of that place. Okay. Don't try to leave any footprint.
Yeah, no footprint. I mean,
and that stayed with me along. You talked about the certificate. Hang it on the wall, but don't worship that. Don't put flowers and the garland on it. Okay. So that's all. So this is the transcendental knowledge that we are taking part in this whole cycle of world events. Okay, because we are a component.
Yeah.
But we are doing it with total submission to this order. Okay.
Surrender, you can call
Yeah, surrender,
whatever
submission.
word you feel
Yeah.
comfortable, but I
Yeah.
mean the actual word is offering.
Yes,
But
the actual is the offering.
yeah,
That's
so,
right. You use it as an offering to this whole cycle of action.
yeah,
And that and understanding we are part of it, we are active part of it. And this is basically the transcendental knowledge.
yeah. I think that's where I think this gyan, the knowledge is important. You may be like you said, you may hang it on this, the certificate on the thing. You may, when you introduce yourself in a meeting, you may say you have done your whatever credentials you have, but your knowledge is there inside you,
That's right.
that you're not attached to it,
That's right.
and that yes, it's done and gone.
So when you are making an ascent, okay, you are going up the stairs, you do not look back the stairs that you have crossed already. You look at upward. That's basically it. And this leads to us the verse number 24, which is one of my most favorite verses. And may I recite that?
Sure, but before you go there, what I see that this 23 from 24 to kind of 6, 7 verses, they're all kind of, Krishna gives an example of yagya. What karma and yagya, he's expanding on this verse in the next several verses by giving what are the yagyas that are there. And he starts with the top level.
Yes.
But all of them are not just knowledge, but that also something that you can meditate upon. Each of those verses can also be used as an exercise.
Yes, but also in 35, he
Yeah.
does mention that it is the transcendental knowledge which is superior to all these uh, various procedural actions, but they are component. They serve a purpose too. Okay, but
No, we will definitely. So up to 33, from now, from 24 to 33 is different types of yagyas that he talks about. So go ahead, do the top one.
okay. Brahmarpanam Brahma Havir Brahmagnu Brahmanahutam Brahmeva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. What a fantastic verse. Okay. It basically we have learned in the Hindu philosophy, Sarvamidam Khalu Brahmanam.
Yeah.
Everything is Brahman. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we are doing the offering, the molten butter that we put in the fire, that is Brahman. The fire itself is the Brahman, because our goal is Brahman. Okay.
The act of offering is also Brahman.
Yes. Okay. The offering is also Brahman. So it is Brahman which is manifested through every actions. Okay. It's a totality. And that's the emphasis of this particular verse. And that is the emphasis of this transcendental knowledge, that it is the Brahman's governance of this whole universe. And we are doing his job. Okay. We are taking actual part in it.
So what is the takeaway here? I mean, apart from this big knowledge, I don't see a lot of practical. I mean, this is the ultimate, it's like ultimate truth. But what do we do with this? I mean, it's good to know, it's important to know. But I think the ones after that he has said, those are more practical things that can be done, can be practiced for personal growth. This one is Brahmarpanam Brahma. It's something that you realize that ultimately it's all Brahma. But in the practical sense, like the last one where you do dravya, means you offer money. I mean, that's very real, right? You can offer money, give and receive economy you know,
Basically, material possession, that was it.
yeah, that's material. So it starts from Brahma, goes down to the material, and in between there are several. And even then, he says that in Vedas there is many more processes there. So
Yes.
these are more individual processes that if someone wants to practice, it's like in apan in pran, like breathing, that one is to do with air. Then there is one with agni, and then there is one with water. But he gives some examples, but then there is many more that he says that he has not listed here.
Yeah, I think the most important part of this particular verse 24 is that is the knowledge at the back of our mind.
Exactly.
Okay. And just like that, okay,
Yeah.
once we have that transcendental knowledge, then one can practice whatever mentioned in the various ways according to our liking or not. Okay. But that's why in 33, he does mention that transcendental knowledge is superior to all these actions.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean that he dissociates it from the action. It means that you have it on the back of your mind as a basis, and then based on that, whatever is in the scripture, you practice them for the material gains or material things, whatever is your aim is. Okay. But the back of mind, this superb knowledge or the supreme knowledge should always be there.
No, I agree. It's like on a more simplistic basis, we know that as we are, our physical body is going to die. But that doesn't mean we stop working today, because
right.
ultimately we are going to die.
That is right.
I think we probably should work harder now, because what we can achieve, we can only achieve in certain period of time.
Make our life more fruitful.
Yeah, make our life more fruitful. So I don't know if there is, for us to go each of those examples individually, but one thing is sure, that for anybody listening to this, they can pick one of the exercise and try it out. And that's the best way to do it. We can explain the meaning, but I think actually the only experience you can have is by trying to, feel those verses rather than just read. Do you want me to go one by one? I mean,
no, not really.
yeah.
But I do want to explain one thing, because people get confused about prana, apana, and all these
Yeah,
words.
go ahead.
So I looked it up, and once again, we talked about it before.
Yeah.
This whole concept comes from Prashna Upanishad.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is basically, this is the physiology of our body.
Yeah.
Okay. The Hindu way of looking at it according to the Hindu scripture. So
Yeah.
there is main life energy within us, which is prana,
Prana.
which is the seat of it in the upper part of the body.
Right.
Okay. Then apana, which is in the lower part of the body, which is sex organ, excretory organs.
Yeah.
Okay. And the energy flows there. Now, there is another one around the solar plexus area called samana, which balances this energy.
Okay.
So, and the fourth one is Vyana, which is how this energy is distributed in the body. And closest example will be a circulatory system, how
Okay.
the entire body gets the energy. And then the last one is Udana, which is in the seated around the neck and in the upper part of the chest, which is basically meant to go upward or downward, but mostly upward. And basically it leads us to cognitive evolution.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the verses says prana
No,
apana.
it is 29.
Yes.
Apane juhyati pranam prane panam tatha pare. So that's where it
Basic,
yeah,
basically, it tells you there are various people who channel this energy from up to down, prana to apana.
yeah,
Some people try to do it from apana to prana, upward.
yeah,
Okay. So the first one is called purak.
yeah.
Second one is called rechak. And
Mhm.
sometimes people hold the energy between this upper and lower one and these are all breath control technique, which is called kumbhaka.
Yeah.
Okay. So we do not want to get into that because those are little complicated.
So
And
that is the point I was trying to make, that each of these are something exercises as well.
that's right.
Apart from knowledge, you can try apan and pran, and you can do pranayam. So that, 29 and 30 is all about pranayam. And the others, also you can, work on those if you wanted to. So this is, for me, it's a technique based kind of, he gives the summary that gatasangasya muktasya jnana vastit chetasa yagya yacharat tah karma. So how many examples he has given, and then he also says that evam bahuvidha yagya. There are many
Many ways
described
to practice.
vitata brahmano mukhe. And brahmano mukhe, in the translation, Hindi translation, people call it Ved. So somewhere Brahma here is the ultimate existence that we talked, and sometimes Brahma has been translated as Ved. But Ved came from Brahmano Mukhe, so we can say that it came from his mouth. So it's not too far to give that meaning.
And, and, and what I really want to emphasize in a composite of all these verses, that there are various procedures, various way to meditate and do these kind of things. Okay, these are all different yogic actions. But the bottom line is we have to have the basis of that transcendental knowledge, which will guide our action.
So here is the one that you are saying, Shayan Dravyam Yagya. That is the, instead of doing dravya, which is the money, yagya, giving money, versus gyan, the knowledge. Gyan is superior to the money. I mean,
That's right.
that seems like a no-brainer, but of course, sometimes you have to say it to make it.
Actually,
Yeah.
that cautionary tale should be there all the time, because what happens when we do some rituals or some kind of so-called religious rites and all those things, because we are so much absorbed in that, we forget that importance of that transcendental knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay. And we have to understand all these ritual rites emanate from that transcendental knowledge.
Yeah.
It's a various way of practicing, but the bottom line is we have to have that knowledge, understanding. That's
Yeah. Sometimes, this word transcendental takes away interest of some people who say, I am a common man. I think it is transcendental, but it's not beyond our reach.
not at all.
Yeah. So I think it's what we are trying to do is bring it down to our level where it can be kind of meaningful, practical. And that's the concept that we want to bring here, that just by using some of these big, traditional words doesn't mean that you should not try
To
to
me,
understand.
it is very simple way. I talked with you about it many times. It is how we curb our ego desire composite,
Yeah.
how we get rid of our conditioning, okay? And we understand that we are the human component of this great oblation and cycle in this universe, okay? And I am not the doer, but I am the agent of the deed. This is the simplest way to approach this transcendental
Yeah.
knowledge.
So, no, I definitely agree with you, but you brought so many points. Here in 23, Krishna has 3 points. And those 3 points are so important, I think, for us to understand. Number one is, the non-attached action. Number two is this knowledge or knowing that we have been talking about. And we can say transcendental knowledge, but the knowledge that, there could be a cosmic regulation, there could be a, cosmic intelligence, and we are part of that cosmic intelligence. So we are kind of all interrelated even in the consciousness and intelligence world. And then our action should be like yagya. I mean, these are the 3 points he makes. He gives all these examples. And then 34, I love 34 because we did talk about it before, but we didn't talk it because there was a verse. Now there is a verse on that.
It's a
Like,
very
what are
good
the
verse.
characteristics? What are the characteristics of a good student? It's not only applicable to spiritual knowledge. Many people try to say that for spiritual knowledge, this is specific for spiritual knowledge. I think it's for any knowledge. I mean,
that is right. Yeah, it says that the way to acquire this knowledge requires humility, questioning, and selfless service. These 3 things.
yeah, the humility is the important part.
So is questioning and selfless service.
I think humility is the one, in this verse 34, and simplicity. I think those are, when we do the verse that we start, say ma vidveshavahe, that is there, don't have that. The same way here also it says that, you should be simple, you should not have any, it's like ulterior motives. Sometimes I wonder, it's like, why is Krishna saying this to Arjun? Because he's teaching Arjun anyway. Why does Arjun need to go somewhere else? Is he telling us, or is he telling Arjun how to be? I mean, I think Arjun is already in that position where he is absorbing every word that Krishna is saying.
Yes. I mean, basically, he is telling Arjun how to act. When there is a responsibility in front of you, and you are meant to act, how you should act with the background knowledge. That's all.
And then it's, the next verse he says that it's like confusion to clarity. I mean, your confusion will just go away once you have that knowledge.
And there's another thing he mentions in that verse 35.
Yeah.
Okay. That you will realize we all have come from the same source.
Well, he says that this property is there in everybody, including Paramatma. Yes. So yes,
so basically he says that this thing that we have pervades every living being and the Brahman. In other words, we are like a little spark from that immense light of Brahman. I'll read that in the English part. Yeah. And he says, O son of Pandu, once you have gained this wisdom, you will no more be deluded. For that knowledge enables you to see all living beings in terms of their common spiritual essence, as one with you and also living in me. This reminds me a verse from Isha Upanishad. And that's also a very favorite verse of mine. The verse goes like this: Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmanaiva anupashyate sarvabhuteshu chatmanam yatona bijugupsate. One who sees himself or his atman in everything, because they all have come from this same source, once he sees that, then he does not hide himself from or distinguish himself from anything or any living being. So that's a beautiful verse. And this knowledge makes us think, as this verse 35 says, that this knowledge enables us to see all living beings in terms of our common spiritual essence. It has got a great effect on our thinking, on our action. It takes away all violence, all kind of negative feelings towards each other. Okay. And I think that's wonderful. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think it is. I mean, this is the high level view. I do want to give this example of it's like practical, our ground level example.
Sure.
And that is, it's like as a trainee surgeon when I was a resident early days, it was a kind of, you could see it looking back, that if you are a good student, if you are humble, and you gave due respect to your professors or the surgeons who has been in the practice for 30, 40 years. And now I see that happening to you and me. It's like when there are people who will give that due respect, and when they will call you for some difficult situation, or it was kind of those students or those trainees seem to learn more, and the people who were training them also you cannot say that they played favorites, but they did. So that attitude made them a better surgeon.
Yeah, I will add one more thing, that once this humility, selfless service kicks in, we also see the patients not as an object, but the human being who has offered us the opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
And also it evokes empathy and compassion within us. Just by being technical surgeon, just by being a well-trained doctor is not enough. It is also taking our patient.
How do you disperse that knowledge, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And how much humility you have, how much concern you are about the patient, not because of only profession, as a human being, that compassion and empathy within you and me is also as important as our training and learning.
Yeah. So it applies there, and I'm sure in business relations and
Everywhere.
home relations, I think everywhere, it doesn't take a lot of effort to appreciate someone when it is worth appreciating. So this humility part that Krishna talked is kind of universally applicable.
Sure.
And no kapat, that's the important part to have that. It's like if you have ulterior motives, somehow it shows, right?
Definitely.
I think then he talks about how this knowledge is so purifying. It's like a we are surgeons, so I can give that. A senior surgeon versus a young surgeon. He's in trouble, and you go there, and you are able to help them come out of that situation. So it's not so much just by bookish knowledge, but also by your experience as a knowledge that you are able to. So the same way, he says, like Agni, Agni is fire is purifying. So he gives that example as well. He puts a lot of emphasis, like, in the previous chapter, we saw a lot of emphasis in controlling your indriyas. Here, there is a lot of emphasis on this gyan.
Actually, he does mention that this knowledge is like fire. It turns every negative things into ashes.
Yeah, gone. You know.
And that's how in 36, 37, 38, he basically summarizes it saying this knowledge, transcendental knowledge
Yeah,
that he was teaching about brings in liberation even to most ignorant. It is the most purifying liberation, and it makes us function in a much better way
yeah.
as human being.
And he puts that emphasis on 39 and 40.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, 39 is for if you have this attitude, you are more likely to get that knowledge and progress. Whereas if you go there with, doubt and, it's like you're not using your judgment and you are being arrogant, then na sukham shanshayatmanah. He's not happy here or any other place that he goes. So
That's
that's
right.
the 40.
Yes.
So 39 is, if you have that trust and if you have that humility and if you have no ulterior motives, then you go follow one path. But, if you go the other path where you don't use your judgment, you doubt and you are arrogant, then you will have a different path of learning.
Yeah. In 39, he reinforces that this knowledge requires faith, devotion, control of senses.
Yeah.
Okay. And these are the requirements. There are other requirements that he mentioned, like humility and other things we talked about.
Yeah.
So this is a complementary verse to all those things he mentioned earlier. And then he mentions, as we talked about in 40 to 41, this knowledge liberates.
41 is probably the summary of everything.
That's right.
Yeah. Yoga sannyasta karmanam. It's like those people who have practiced, sannyas or non-attachment in action, and those who have the jnana sachinna shanshayam. Gyan has cut down their doubts and confusion. So those two things, that's why I think this whole thing is Gyan, Karm, Sannyas, Yoga.
Yes.
The name, it's kind of a melting pot of all three. And Atmavantam na karmani nibandhanti dhananjaya. So this is where the karmas are not going to bind you.
That's right.
Basically, this is what you need to aim for. It's like,
Yes. And the chapter, in 3 words, it summarizes what we discussed today.
yeah,
Is that Gyan, or the knowledge, this great knowledge that he conferred,
yeah,
okay, and the actions, karma, the actions based on this knowledge, and then sannyas, where it is meant that you are non-attached to all these things, okay. You are doing it as a duty, as an agent of the deed rather than doer. So one has done away with the ego desire complex, okay, or ulterior motive, as you mentioned, or selfishness. So this is the functioning of a liberated individual, and that is the summary of it.
well, the final verse, Amitabh, Krishna never forgets, get up and fight Arjun.
Of course, because that's the action he has to perform. So that is at hand. He should not, all these lectures should not divert him. These lectures of Krishna offers him knowledge and how to act. Now, based on that, he has to act.
So all this understanding is not just theoretical.